We've got Yamaha digital pianos in the studio, brand new for 2022, the YDP-145 and the YDP-165. Brand new additions to the Arius line. We're going to talk about what makes them different, what makes them great, and we're going to play them and look at their feature set.
Hi, this is Ted with Alamo Music Center in beautiful downtown San Antonio, Fiesta City.
I'm Patrick Marr. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channels, check out our other videos, sign up for notifications, like our videos, leave us comments. We appreciate your support and we love to interact with you. YDP, Yamaha digital piano.
New Arius stuff.
So the new Arius line, tell me about the Arius line. Where did it originate? And when it first came out, what were your feelings about it? Because, you know, the Clavinova is like the heavy hitter in the room.
It really is. And if you go to the internet and you look up digital pianos, Yamaha, Kawai, you don't even put a manufacturer, the CLP will come up. The Clavinova says it is the standard traditional upright piano replacement. Mm-hmm. And when the Arius came out, it was after the Clavinovas were out. And the salesman here didn't want them in the store because they were Clavinova killers. It's kind of what it's referred to as. And what it is it's an almost Clavinova. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have all the features that you're really looking for or that you read about that make a digital piano like a real piano. But yet, there it is. And the boxes are X'd off.
And the price is right. And there's all these things where it's like, hey, I'm buying this for my kid. I don't want to spend a lot of money. I want to get them started.
Right.
And it's really hard to look away from the YDP line.
It is because physically they resemble the lower line Clavinovas. And mm-hmm. if you look at any Clavinova in the last 15 years, a lot of them look like the Arius. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I'd say it's always like an almost Clavinova. It's one of those general music release instruments. You don't have to be a specific Yamaha piano or keyboard dealer to sell these. And so there's a lot of them advertised, and they're always, competitive with the pricing, but they're always going to be kind of around the same. The one thing I noticed though over the years is that the really advanced features in a Clavinova has kind of trickled down. I mean, beyond trickled down, it's almost like flooded into the Arius line mm-hmm. because the technology has just picked up all this other stuff that acoustic pianos can do and now digitals can do. And one thing I demonstrated a little bit, not a lot of, but the partial pedaling is apparent on this thing here because you can play it with the sustain pedal down and then you can almost just bounce that so that there's still note, but it gets cut in volume. You can do that on these on the Arius line. I used to not be able to do that.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah, the YDP line, it really, like you said, it offers graded hammers. It offers a great Yamaha sound. The speaker capacity is a little bit less. When you start looking at Clavinovas, you get a little bit more of a developed sound because of the bigger speaker, the bigger wattage, the bigger cones of the speaker system. The action gets a little bit nicer. But all these things are, if price is king and you're trying to stay in a certain budget, the YDP really has a great offering that has, over the years gotten better and better. And so we're looking specifically today at two of the new models for 2022. They are replacing the predecessors of the 144 and the 164, which were great sellers. They did get a price bump a little bit. The 145 is going to be $12.99. The 165 is going to be $17.99. And so, great offerings, but the first thing you told me right off the bat.
Right off the bat, the first two things you notice is that YDP-165 feels better and plays better. I think it has the grand piano action in it.
Well, the GH3 action.
The GH3, and this just has the graded hammer.
Yeah, the GHS. So that right off the bat is a different action. And the primary big difference between the two is the texture of the keys.
The texture of the key tops, and that's something that when I mentioned how these features have trickled down, the YDP-165 now has grain-feeling ebony keys, mm-hmm. and there's grain on the ivory keys, and they're nowhere near as slippery and plain Jane as these. Now, 20 years ago, I would have never complained about key tops, mm-hmm. but in this day and age, that's one of those features that when you get a piano that has key tops that are kind of moisture absorbent, and they have those grains in it, and it just reminds you of sitting at a real wooden piano. That is a very desirable touch
It's comforting feeling.
It's very comforting for a returning player. So if you're a returning player, really compare just the key tops, and then also the touch and the actions are different. And the YDP-165 has a little bit bigger speakers and sound system in it, and it really does resonate the whole cabinet. Now, both of them have this new ported thing, and I don't want to say it's just a box with a hole in it, but it's they drilled a port into the sound box where the speakers are at, but they also put a nice graded grill over it so that it's got some outflow of not just bass and mids, but the highs go through there. So there's like this noise, kind of like a piano in a room.
It's like called tonal responsive.
Something like that. It just makes it kind of fills the room with sound, not directly coming from the keyboard, but coming from the keyboard.
Yeah. And
so it's just kind of like having a piano, because it doesn't, you can't really say the piano sounds like it's coming from the wall. It sounds like it's coming from the piano. And this kind of does the same thing. It fills the room.
Spatial awareness, yeah.
Yeah.
So the speaker systems between these two models are pretty significant. Two 8-watt speakers on the YDP-145. It jumps up to two 20-watt speakers. So you're thinking about 40 watts of power versus 16 watts of power. So you do get, and that's not just volume. That when we talk about the wattage.
Oh, it's depth, it's tone, timbre, everything.
So you just get, it's just a bigger presence, a little bit more of that vibration that we like to talk about coming out of the digital piano. But besides, the speaker system and the action, those are going to be the most noticeable things because you're still looking at 10 voices on both of these. You're looking at the same recording function. You're looking at the same USB to host function. The overall kind of aesthetic is very similar as well. And they start checking those same boxes. They got the CFX improved sample. So both of these received an improvement on the CFX sampling that was the previous generation had the CFX, but they didn't have the very new sampling that they had gone back to their 9-foot concert grand and taken the sample off of and said, hey, we want to bring this in our Arius line. So let's take a listen to both of these instruments right now, and then we'll come back, talk about a couple more things, a couple more differences between these two models, and hopefully find which one might be right for you.
Well, Patrick, I'm of a firm opinion that these things would have been clavinovas 20 years ago.
Well, a lot of this technology didn't exist yet. 192 polyphony is something that they couldn't have dreamed of in the early 90s. Right. But having the ability to play 192 sounding off samples at the same time is just incredible, and plenty of room for the novice, the beginner, the intermediate player. It's definitely got enough there to really represent the full on sample of that CFX. Something that both of these models do have that's new from Yamaha is VRM Lite.
Right.
And do you want to talk about the VRM technology?
Yeah, it just gives an overall, what the VRM Lite does is it allows the piano to be kind of regulated. Mm-hmm. And in terms of its sound and its performance out of the box that it's performing in. So it's kind of like a personalized EQ and setup for each piano. And it stands for the virtual resonance modeling. So it makes it sound and appear to play and feel like it is a real piano.
Yeah, and that's the VRM it's something that's been around for over 10 years with the Clavinova line. So they made this light version of it for the Ariuses, the new ones. But it's a little damper noise, it's pedal noise, it's all these little small things that complete the circle of, hey, this is a digital instrument replicating, and instead of just miking it up and trying to get the best sound in sampling, they're adding these little modeling flares that really kind of start completing the picture.
And I do want to go back and mention this because I had the first generation Clavinova that came out in 1987. Mm-hmm. It had 3 piano sounds in it, and it was an 8-bit machine. And it had one effect called stereo symphonic, it was either stereo symphonic, and then it also had a Clavinova setting sound, which was kind of a mixture of acoustic piano with a little bit of electric digital bell sound in it, and then a tad of some kind of pad in it. Those were 3 sounds. That instrument cost $3,000 in 1987. So when I say what used to be a Clavinova, this is far superior to that machine, and it's coming in way less than half that price of what it cost in 1987. And that was an 8-bit machine. Yeah. And I think it probably had at best maybe 32-note polyphony.
Yeah. So
it was a practice mode thing.
So how far we've come and the
Real
offering. And so it's both of these are under 100 pounds. They're really easy to pick up and move around. The electronics are solid. We see these things lasting for a very long time. It's incredible when you do spend more money, the feature sets that do start to trickle in. And so this is Yamaha at the $1,299 price point and the $1,799 price point. We are doing a video of the 165 versus one of the entry line Clavinovas, the CLP 735. Because that's really kind of a big price jump, but also a big feature set jump. So make sure you guys are subscribed to see that content. We are looking for the best instruments and educating the population on, hey, these are.
There's a lot of stuff in the marketplace, and I've mentioned this in the last week. We're putting together a concept of a video that's going to be based on pianos for dads, or whoever the guy is paying for it out of the family, because a lot of times they're not involved in the music process. Mm-hmm. Their children or their families are, and they get confused, they don't get it, but there's so much product on the market that is competitive with this, with the YDP-165, with the CLPs, with all the Kawais. I mean, almost every major instrument manufacturer that does anything keyboards has some kind of digital piano out on the market. And then there's always the knockoffs, the guys that go for $200 or $300 and they claim to check off all the boxes. We've reviewed some of those pianos here. We've had some people send pianos and ask us for reviews as well. It is interesting. The marketplace is literally saturated with digital pianos. And it's a great thing because 20 years ago, there was a handful of manufacturers on digital pianos, and now it's like opened up worldwide. Mm-hmm. And hopefully we'll have like millions and billions of piano players around here.
Yeah, it's great to see what technology can do with these.
Accessibility for the masses.
And the MIDI capability, a lot of the younger generation is very interested in music production on the computer, creating beats,
putting songs together in less than 5 minutes and not being able to sit down and play it beginning to end on piano. I'm amazed by that. It's just fascinating.
And so if you guys have owned an Arius before, if you've owned the Yamaha Clavinova, if you've made the decision of, hey, we were looking at the Arius line but ended up getting a Clavinova, or we were looking for a portable and ended up getting an Arius. Please leave your stories, because that will be very helpful for people to realize, hey, why did you choose this or that, and what was the decision based on? Because like, we can sit here and play it and talk about it, but really it's the stories that help people become
It's
guided
everyone's
to the
shopping experience, because they're all different.
So thank you guys for watching. Please leave some comments and let us know if you've played it, if you're excited to play the new 145 or the 165, and we can start some discussion based on that. Ted Barsalou, I'm Patrick Marr with Alamo Music. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. Thank you for watching.